All right, Kristen, thanks. This week we're also hearing from state lawmakers on both sides of the aisle as they reflect on the events of these last few weeks at the State House. This week, Kristen spoke with State Representative Carrie Hamilton, who voted against the bill, and State Rep Sharon Nagel, who voted for the bill and for the exceptions that were included in the final version.
This is a very emotional issue. People don't realize the diversity that we had to deal with and trying to derive the right policy here, and we had to do it in a 2-week period, which was tough. The interesting fact that I had to deal with within my caucus is that there were people who wanted 0 exceptions. There are people who only wanted life of mother. There are people who wanted all of the exceptions that we put in there, and then there were some people who wanted first trimester. And that was an incredibly diverse opinion within our caucus. So I was happy that we could come to an agreement of having all of the exceptions in there, and then removing some of the language on the penalty side. So while I would tell you it's not perfect, it was very much a negotiation, and a lot of people had to compromise. And it wasn't only pro-choice people who were also were there that were picketing and having their rallies. We also had Hoosier for Life that were there that wanted 0 exceptions. We also had the pro-life group that was there that only wanted life of mother. So we just basically didn't make anybody happy with this bill. And I guess most people don't understand that.
For you, is that a concern, or is that a sign for you that the right compromise was made?
I think we might have struck the right balance on compromise. I guess time will tell, and that's just what we'll have to do.
We're just not doing enough in Indiana to help mothers and babies, and we're going to have a larger crisis on our hands after the bills that were passed last week.
What can state lawmakers do to try to improve both childcare access and access to OB services?
Well, frankly, it comes down to priorities. We are at an unprecedented time where we have the resources in the bank today to start to make those investments. It will not require new taxes. I would start with also, as I mentioned, the before and after care support, the affordable infant and child care support. So many things we can do to help mothers and babies in Indiana.
All right, this week we also spoke with 2 state senators who voted against the bill, Republican Senator Kyle Walker and Democratic Senate Minority Leader Greg Taylor.
There's no doubt that women will die because of this legislation. They're not going to be able to have access to OBGYNs. They're not going to have access to birth control, sex education, doulas, people who provide these services. And I just hope that in November, people go to the polls and actually express their discontent with what happened. And then maybe, and only then, can we try to fix what has happened, because they won't have such an overwhelming majority to go and do whatever they want to do.
We've seen Lily Cummins, Gen Con, and some others speaking out against the bill. Do you expect that sort of backlash from some in the business community to continue?
I think it's a little early to say. Clearly we have just over a dozen states that had laws that went into effect as soon as the Roe decision was overturned. Other states, and in some of those actually, will come back and try to develop their own abortion policies. And so I think as things kind of clarify around the country, we'll see what the business reaction is. I think the immediate reaction that we've seen is there's certainly serious implications to that we need to be mindful of. But what the long-term effect is, I think, is yet to be seen.